issue. And I appreciate, I think a couple people mentioned this, when this started to pop up, well, it's been popping up now for a number of years, but when we walked in the door January of last year and realized that really not much had been done to prepare for this moment, no funds had been secured, very little staff, no money invested, no plan deployed, how important it was to move out. But what I think makes this particular moment different is that the all of government approach. And so whether CDC this morning, EPA, our Environmental Protection Agency, approving the Novo Fly in record time, Secretary Kennedy over at HHS approving the deployment of the HHS veterinarians. We need more veterinarians in Texas. We can talk about that too. Whether it is the Secretary of War and the Army Corps of Engineer, you go to them, there are a lot of challenges in our world right now with safety. So you don't really know what the reaction will be when you go to them and you say, I need you to prioritize a sterile fly facility in Edinburgh, Texas, and it's going to cost almost $1 billion. And this was at a time when the Trump government was working to shrink the footprint of government and save money and return tax dollars to the citizen. But without hesitation, whether it was President Trump, Vice President Vance, and Secretary Pete Hegseth, they said, we will bump this to the very top of the list. So taking what would have probably been a 5-year process and shrinking it to 2 years, including permitting. It's a radiated facility. It's not you're not building a grocery store here, but to shrink the years, to peel the years off, is just a huge credit to the team. However, there's more work to be done. I believe, John believes, that we're going to actually peel more time off to get that facility up and running very, very quickly. So the CDC is just one more step in the right direction that allows us to deploy more resources at the federal level, but the importance of the partnership at the state level cannot be overstated. And I think sometimes all the different layers of government tend to work in silos, and that has been, I believe, the game changer here, why we have been able to move so quickly, staff up so much, break ground, open dispersal facilities. Matapa comes online in just a couple of weeks at literally record speed, realizing that we started at ground zero about a year and a couple months. So thank you.
Yesterday in the hearing, you talked about the last administration not really doing much, watching this fly move north. Mm-hmm. There's also a lot of comments about DOGE cuts. Can you talk about that, if that's impacted where we're at today or got us to where we're at today?
No, absolutely. DOGE cuts had zero to do. And in fact, you can just look at the specifics of the response from USDA in particular. When we walked in the door, late January of 2025, there were only 10 full-time staff left over from the last administration that were fully focused on the screwworm. Fully focused, just 10 full-time combination. Last May, or just a month or two ago, well, we just got out of May, I'm losing my timeline here. A couple of weeks ago, we had more than 120 full-time staff who were focused on this issue. That's a 1,000% increase. So the people that are back and saying that DOGE has basically caused this could not be further from the truth. What we have been able to do is allocate resources in a priority way that allows us to make sure that what we're doing with the taxpayer dollar is prioritized and important, but that we're leaning in at 1,000% increase into what we knew was coming. We worked for a year to keep it out. Every model showed that this particular part of the state in America would be infested by last summer. That's what all the models showed, just based on the movement of the fly. Through the Darien Gap in 2021, through Central America in 2022, 2023, hitting Mexico in 2024. But we've been able to hold it back. We closed the ports. We worked with Mexico. We deployed so many of our resources in Mexico to hold it back to prepare for this moment. But zero to do. In fact, we've actually been able to scale up much harder than anybody else to get ready for this.
Is there any investigation into how...
Yeah, he's doing good.
Right.
Yeah, good questions. Good questions.
I have a list of them now. So, I mean, how did it get to Zavala County, this fly? Is there any investigation into that?
Yes, we are, and I'll let the Admiral add a little bit more. But when you look at the polygon and how this team is incredible, how they have moved the polygon based on where the flies have been. I mean, that's one of the main reasons we've been able to keep it out of Texas, is where we've been deploying a limited amount of sterile flies, but 100 million a week. It's not tiny, but deploying through the last year into different parts of northern Mexico to keep it at bay and moving along. It's four-dimensional chess at this point. So I'll let the Admiral lean into that a little bit more, but what I will say is we're still looking at it. There's some wind that we're looking at. We're looking at the weather patterns, trying to understand how it was that it jumped this far up. But Admiral, if you want to join into that.
Well, I don't know if you can mention the cattle smuggling. Is that being looked at as well?
100%. The illicit movement of cattle alongside the open border policies of the last administration, no question, is the reason that we're standing here today. It is 100% the reason, and no real effort to push it back and to keep it out. So that's exactly right. But one other thing I'll say about the fly dropping here, within a matter of, I think what one of our great guys said, 24 to 48 hours, it was actually within a matter of about 8 hours. We had flies redirected, moved to this part of the state, dropped by that evening. And again, other than one other case about 5 miles away at the same time, there's been no other cases in this part of the state. It tells you the sterile fly technology works, and that's why it's so important. Go ahead.
As far as the overall understanding as far as why there might be the movement of the fly towards Zavala County. And so as the Secretary mentioned, back in early August last year, the Secretary had worked with the White House to be able to come up with a new idea, a new plan to be able to coordinate all of the different federal agencies and departments in the federal government. And so consequently being able to lean on those resources and to have one element at USDA that can synchronize each of those efforts has been a pretty exciting thing. The reason that's important is as we look at those models that I had mentioned a little while ago and being able to have those predictive analytics and forecasting, it's really dependent on the data that are out there. So the more data we have, the better the models become. So consequently, your question about illegal cattle movement, it's not just about the federal partners who are working on the animal health stuff, such as, for example, not just limited to USDA, but also HHS, EPA, Department of Interior, et cetera, but the whole gamut of federal departments and agencies, including Department of War, Department of Homeland Security, helping us to get as much data as we can to understand all of the movement, whether it's licit or illicit. And so being able to lean on all of those resources is incredibly important. And so as far as why it had come to this particular county, it feels like months to me, but it's only been about a week. And so we're going to need to keep gathering data and keep needing to understand a variety of different factors. So that could be cases that we have known about, cases that we didn't know about. As the Secretary mentioned, we have thousands of traps that are out. We have traps that have been able to be deployed in Mexico, as well as the United States, for a very long time. The reason is as the Secretary said, models suggest that it was going to be here last summer. So we had plenty of time to prepare. So consequently, we actually have a playbook on how to do this, what we're doing, what you're seeing here. It's the New World Screwworm Playbook at screwworm.gov. If you go to that particular website, you'll see here's what USDA is doing. There's no mystery. And the reason this is important is that has been not only developed and made by USDA, but developed and made by our partners. And so we've done this in conjunction with Texas Animal Health, as well as everybody else that you see here, to come up with a literal playbook on how to address this. And so yes, as these fly cases come up, we know how to do it. We know how to address it. If you see it, tell us, and we can drop those flies, just as he had said.
Yeah.
You had mentioned there's no impact to the food at all as of right now. What is the concern if this doesn't get contained?
Well, the concern, we look back at the 1950s and 1960s, and I mean, that on this very land, the destruction of our livestock industry and the decades it took to recover from that, that's what we are working, and we will. I mean, it's an entirely new day. We have more technology, we have more treatment. I mean, like I said, the baby calf from a couple of weeks ago is happy and fine and completely healed. You can't even really see the wound. That's just from 6 days ago when it was first confirmed. But the importance of farm security, ranch security to national security, the importance of making sure that in America we can feed and fuel ourselves, understanding that in 2023, America became, for the first time in our history, a net food importer, meaning up until that point we moved, we fed ourselves and then we sold the world our incredible agriculture products. In 2023, that changed for the first time ever, where we began to import more food than to export. I mean, these are fundamental, perhaps existential issues to the future of our country. And so I don't mean to be overly dramatic and cast gigantic visions here, but that's literally what we're fighting for. And if we can't protect these ranchers, and they're our partners in all of this, and ensure that we can protect our food supply and protect this way of life, then we will lose freedom in this country. That's how important this is.
Last thing for me.
Yes.
I know there's other states around here. I've seen notices from their, agriculture departments saying putting notices out, basically. Are you working with other states or just Texas? What about, New Mexico?
Oh, yes. No, we are all leaned in on the states that we're really focused on are Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, and California right now. But to put it in perspective, we've known that the screwworm was within 60 miles of the Texas border a year ago. 80 miles of the Texas border a year ago. It's 400 miles from New Mexico and about 700, 800 miles from Arizona. So this is why we've put so many of our resources into Texas. But yes, working with every state every day. I'm in touch with almost every ag secretary of each of the states in the country. Also their governors. I'm going to get in the car and talk to the Arizona governor in just a minute, New Mexico governor, et cetera. So this is, again, all hands on deck approach. As these states are protecting their own borders, there's also the importance of us talking to each other, making sure we're not compromising our sheep and goat industry in this state. It's very important. We talk a lot about cattle. We'll always talk a lot about cattle. It is Texas, but our sheep and goat industry is a major agricultural industry in Texas and across New Mexico and Arizona. So ensuring that they have what they need so that they're not destroyed. Our wildlife industry, our hunting industry in South Texas is a massive income producer with a lot of fawns, et cetera. So this is a very complicated policy challenge, but it is one that we have faced before, we've beaten before with a lot less tools in our toolkit. But that's what we're building out now so that this will never happen again.
Any changes to what sort of animals can come across the border now?
No, we've had the ports closed for a year now, so we have not let any animals across the port because it is so close to Texas. But we haven't let them in through New Mexico or Arizona either. That will obviously continue until we have a better understanding of what we're dealing with. But the case that was confirmed positive in New Mexico, of the 7 cases, I think 6 are here, and then there's the one in New Mexico. That was a companion animal, a dog, that based on all of our information came from Mexico. So the importance of, we've now deployed, before even this case was confirmed, we've deployed our dogs. Our dogs we've now trained for USDA dogs for the USDA screwworm snout, and they're now at all the border openings. We are looking at people bringing their dogs and cats over. We're going to be really, really strict about that. And you'll see more on that as well. I talked to and was with, a couple of us were with Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen yesterday in Washington. In fact, I have Dr. Sean Connolly here, right there. Come over here, Sean, from the Department of Homeland Security. He was former President Trump's personal doctor in the first term, but now has a policy role on this. I'll let you say a couple things too, Dr. Connolly. But the importance of, again, across the federal agencies, Department of Homeland Security, we talked yesterday about using their drones and perhaps through very quick innovation, having an artificial intelligence piece of this, where you put AI on the drones that they can fly across all of our millions of acres of wildlife in this state. That we need to be solving for and preparing for as well. So, Dr. Connolly, I'm sorry, I should have had you up here to begin with. It's great to have you in South Texas.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And I bring greetings from Secretary Mullen and Homeland Security. It's just a testament, really, to the working group and the Undersecretary and the Admiral and everyone that this is a whole of government approach. And food security is national security. Mm-hmm. And so Homeland Security there, whether it's on the borders, screening companion animals or individuals as they're crossing borders, whether it is research within our science and technology groups, working with Texas A&M, and we're just throwing everything out there, whatever we can do, whatever the question is, whatever resource we have that may add to the problem set, the Department of Homeland Security is there and getting after it.
That's great. Thank you, Dr. Connolly. Do you have a question? We got all of them. Anybody else?
Just talking about the screwworm, what is the screwworm? A lot of people might not know what it is.
Yes, I know.
Flies and everything, but what do they do and how bad?
Yeah, just give a little level set. We're also in the weeds. We kind of assume. Admiral, do you want to answer that question?
Sure. The New World screwworm is a parasite, and it is a parasite that can affect any warm-blooded organism. And so that could be potentially humans, but the vast majority of the time it does relate to wildlife or livestock or animals in general. And so there's a lot of misperceptions and misconceptions out there. Screwworm.gov, for everybody who's able to take a look at that, has some great explanations. The thing about the screwworm is it's been around for a very long time. And as the Secretary had mentioned, we've been able to address it in the past push it out of the United States, push it out of Mexico, push it out of Central America. And we've done it before. We know how to do it, and we'll do it again. The screwworm itself doesn't live very long, generally about 21 days. When that screwworm does perish, what we're hoping is that it perished because it never made it. And the reason is because, as the Secretary had mentioned, our biggest arsenal that we have right now is the 100 million sterile flies that we have in Panama that we ship up here. And as was shown right behind me here, this is one of the particular ways that we disperse these flies. And so what we have found is, like most organisms, the New World screwworm propagates by mating, and so consequently what we're trying to do is to get that fly to mate with a sterile fly and then not to be able to produce offspring. And what we have seen again over years and decades actually is that by doing this you can in fact suppress a population. The big thing about the New World screwworm fly is it looks very similar to other flies. And so consequently there's a lot of pictures out there that you'll see. The New World screwworm flies are very similar to many other types of blowflies. And so consequently, it's really important to do a couple of different things. If you see something, say something. Use Texas Animal Health, use Texas Park and Wildlife, and help them help you to be able to identify those flies. Number two, if we're using surveillance traps and you've been grateful enough or gracious enough to be able to allow us to go on your lands to be able to put these traps and these ground release chambers, please don't touch the flies. Let the flies do their work. And at the end of the day, if you see flies on traps, as was mentioned by our experts here, we do dye them. And so we can dye them to determine that these are, again, we dye the sterile flies, and we dye them to be able to determine where they come from. And so consequently, this is a pest. It's something that can be assessed, it's something that can be seen, and it's something that can be taken care of very easily.
Yeah, let me just say, a screwworm is actually a fly. That's what's confusing to everyone. And what Admiral Schmoyer outlined is the bad fly is a female who has been is in reproduction, has landed in an open wound. That's why you'll hear, cover the wounds of your animals, keep really close contact. The calf that's now fully recovered, it was an umbilical cord, a 3-day-old calf that a fly landed, laid her eggs, and then it's that larva that actually eats around the wound. And if it's treated, it's 100% ability to beat it back, and that's what we're seeing today. And again, FDA has fast-tracked all of these treatments. We're so grateful to our friends at FDA and everyone leaning in on this. Thank you all so much. Thank you, everybody. Great job. Hey, John.
Yeah, I know. I saw it, and I'm moving away from that.
It won't hurt you.
No, of course not. Just on the road, the whole way on the road, I'll be smelling it.
That's good, just the smell of money.
Oh, I don't mind.
I always tell my kids, always pass the shower. The smell.
My God, my arm's gonna fall off.
I don't know if we're gonna. I don't think do we need to. I think she said
She said what? I saw I was surprised to ask a question. I was like, she said what? And that guy asked a lot.
Well, I wanted more about the screw. Like, what is it? Like, how does it?
Well,
I was more interested in
my
that.
arm.
That's why you need to work on it.
Can you see the camera?
He was just asking about the cat. We're in all the places. All the places. Yeah. We're glad it was well, and I think all of the work that was kind of here we are.
Get out of the way real quick. We can get out of here.
Well, I mean,
No, I
they
think so.
didn't check
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they illegally crossed.
No one's,
right?
They
no
did.
one's
Those
checking
flies
the-
did.
Yeah. But yeah, we're together. And if there's anything you need, like on photos or
Yeah.
background
So
or anything, let
if
us
you,
know.
so might be sending me to Houston tomorrow.
Okay.
I'd rather
I
stay
hope
here.
you don't have to go.
Well, it's Secretary of Defense
Yeah.
there.
Same
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, while you're in Texas, like, it's not exactly.
Yeah. No, like,
But with the CDC now,
I didn't know if you already had it.
they might keep me on this. So,
You know
do you have any recommendations for me in the area as far like?
I mean, I'm gonna definitely be more heavy on the producer side, but I do have, like, I can introduce you to a lot of folks here that might have some connections. So,
I could always just text you later.
Yeah,
So
and
I
we
know
can
tomorrow,
have
like, I'm
an
gonna want to find a spot to go live, like with
All right,
cow
Robert, go
runs.
ahead. Say and spell your first and last name just to make sure we got that correct.
Yeah, I'm Robert Graff, ROBERT GRAFF,
Well, Houston's
and
gonna
I'm
be a
manager.